you start doing music for a living, or when did you think you wanted to do it for a living?
I've always done music ever since leaving high school. So left high school early and studied music.
Yep.
And then from there went to work at a recording studio called Cog.
Oh yeah,
right. And I worked there for a few years, and then left and taught guitar and recorded bands. And didn't really earn much money, but it was fun. and then I wrote the first album for Avalanche City in between guitar students and recording bands and stuff like that. So that's how that all began.
So did you actually have jobs and stuff out of school, or did you just sort of immediately make money from teaching and playing and stuff?
How do you mean by that? Oh no, like I've actually never really had like a proper full-time job.
Right.
So it's always just been music.
Yep.
Yeah. I've tried to have a full-time job before. It didn't really work out.
Unemployable.
No one would employ me.
Sounds like a lot of us.
But that doesn't speak to your character or your abilities. It's just your frame of reference was, this is what I want to do. This is what I can do. It's what I'm good at.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I don't want to be.
That's a nice way of putting it. I'll take that. Thanks.
I don't want to.
Bobby's a diplomat.
Sit behind a fucking desk all day, kind of thing. And so from that point, you recorded the first Avalanche City album, and then it kind of got released out there and did its thing. Was it released on Cog, or did you?
No, I was just like as an engineer at Cog. Cog wasn't really, when I worked there, it wasn't really operating as a label.
Oh, right.
It was just a studio. But no, I just released it myself online for free.
Right.
And that's how that all kind of snowballed from there.
And then the big song came off it, and then you re-released the album, didn't you?
Yeah, actually, the funny thing is we released the album 3 times.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah. So first time for free,
yeah,
and then second time was with the physical copy. So we had loads of people asking to buy a physical copy, which I was at that time. I was like, I don't care about physical copies. I'd just rather like have it online. But enough people wanted it that we decided to make a physical version. But then shops wouldn't stock it because it was online for free. So we had to take the online down and then do a big release for the shop. And then I signed to Warner. And then we pulled everything from the shops and then did a third release.
Right.
So convoluted.
I kind of got the impression that you were almost taken aback by the success that came with the record.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that is that we had pitched Love, Love, Love to radio for a few months.
Yeah.
And it hadn't taken off.
Right.
Which is really funny because when I actually got a grant from New Zealand On Air for Love, Love, Love.
Mm-hmm.
But I submitted it for... Didn't realize you weren't allowed to do this, but I submitted it for a video grant and a new recording grant, which new recording is you get money to record it and do video.
Yeah. I see. Right.
And they for the new recording they take it to the Edge and or someone at radio and they say, will you play this? And the guy from the Edge was like, nah, it's not going to take off on radio, so nah. and then they gave me the video grant instead. Right. But then the guy from the Edge ended up being right. They didn't play it. It didn't take off on radio until TV2 picked it up, and that's when it all changed.
But it's like those guys at radio just try to be wrong, isn't it? It's like,
sick burn. But there are a lot of stories though of like people getting like turned down by.
It happened to the Beatles. It happened to
exactly.
Elvis.
Yeah. It's like, why do they even bother answering the question? I just feel like an idiot if I worked there.
Yeah. But it's like you've got to pretend that you know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
You keep those jobs, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You talk shit all day. And so when TV, I'm sure that it was. I was hearing about it long before the TV2
really
thing. Yeah, I'm sure it was around before then because I remember it may be because we'd seen you around the traps playing gigs and been around, but hearing it on the TV, going, oh, cool, they must have got a great sync deal for that song. So I already knew of it. But then there wasn't a re-release after that of the album, after the TV2 thing? That was just...
It was around the same time that the TV2 thing happened and that we re-released the album, Okay.
So when did you first know that something was happening with the album?
It was...
And what was the thing that made it clear?
I guess it was probably on the first day that I released it, because I released it on like a Monday at 3 o'clock, and then that night... It had been like 1,000 or 2,000 downloads or something like that.
Shit.
And the funny thing is I released it at 3, and then I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone at about 5 or 6 or something like that, and I got a missed call. Like someone was trying to call me, and I was like, "Oh, I'll call them back." called them back later, and they were like, "Hello, Universal Music." Like someone's speaking. I was like,
"Oh shit!"
So what do you put that down to then?
I don't know. I guess that people now are like jumping on things really early. So as soon as something makes a splash on SoundCloud or YouTube or something like that, the labels will be like.
So the momentum it gained in those few hours is sort of a mystery. It just
I have no idea. I guess that there was a lot of groundswell around the release. I guess, but I'm not sure why. I have no idea.
That's funny, eh?
Yeah.
So you wrote, recorded, and played on the album, the album yourself.
Yeah.
It was in a bedroom kind of studio or at COG or whatever. You got your
No, not at COG. I wasn't working there at that point. I hired out a little hall, community hall up north, and spent a week there, just kind of recording the stuff, and then spent the next few months mixing it and tracking the vocals.
Nice. Yeah. So a real labour of love.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm assuming you're self-managed at this point.
Now? No.
Oh no, when you made the first release the album.
Yeah.
Whatever that means, though, because you know, as an artist who may be new to the industry, and clearly the way that things happen in that convoluted thing we call the music industry, and even back then, it was a real 2011 or 10.
10, yeah.
It was in turmoil still, and it kind of still is. But how do you find your way through all of that shit to know what you're supposed to do? You know, as someone who might not have a lot of experience in it, eh?
Yeah, well, I guess that's the interesting thing is I feel like every 2 years you need to constant like rethink the music industry and how things are going to be released and how people consume music.
Yeah.
Right? So now, like, the crazy thing is back in 2010, releasing an album online for free was radical.
Right.
Yeah.
Like people were like, "Are you sure you want to do this? Like, you're going to make no money back. Like, it's going to be, you know." Like it's a waste of time kind of doing it and that kind of thing. But now all music is free.
What's the thought process behind doing that way, by releasing it for free?
So at that time I was earning nothing off music, and it was just like a like total labor of love. And the thought process was if I can make this spread as fast and as far as possible, then there'll be way more benefits than selling to the 40 people that will come to my shows.
So you're thinking more big picture and long term.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So there was a strategy behind it, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a strategy.
Fuck it, I'm just going to put it out there.
No, there was a strategy, and I did this thing where so I released it on on Monday, but on Friday I gave it to a whole bunch of people who were like, you know, like very social people, like people who love to talk about the new cool thing. Gave it all to all these people.
And tastemakers.
Tastemakers, and people who had helped the record and stuff like that. And I was like,
where are these people? How do you find these people?
Oh, they're just friends.
Can you give me their numbers?
And so throughout the weekend, they'd go to like parties and like their like friends' houses and stuff like that, and they'd talk about this new album that only they had been given.
Wow!
And then on Monday, it came out for everyone else.
What a cool idea!
Yeah.
I bet you everyone's going to hear that and try and do that, you know, replicate
but you know, you do that in 2010, like now
exactly.
it's a whole new landscape.
But you make a good point with having to rethink it every couple of years, eh? Because I mean, the industry was kind of the same for about 40 years or something.
That's right.
And now it is really changing almost every year.
Every album you release,
that's right,
different landscape.
Yeah.
So what's it like now? What are you having to face the difficulties? Well, I mean, we're going to get to the other thing that's basically really why we want to talk about what we're here.
Totally.
But what's the new album like, the landscape for this new album?
For my current album, so I released it last year, and I don't know, I guess it's a lot of stuff is online. So like, I mean, I guess that back then it was online as well, but it's more, everything is free, and you have to stand out in some other way. You can't like gimmick it. So the music has to be really good, but also the way people are consuming music is quite different now. It's all online content.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily, do you have a slick music video? It's, do you have interesting online content?
Yeah.
Right. That they can engage with.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and
stuff.
It's all about, like, you know, now it's all about live streaming and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's definitely, I still haven't figured out exactly how I'll release my next album.
But what about vinyl, man? It's coming back.
That's it. Yeah, vinyl is coming. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You haven't put your record on vinyl?
Yeah, it's on vinyl.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
sweet.
you can get it on vinyl.
Because we were just talking about what was the name of the song? Inside Out, the new.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Killer song.
Beautiful.
Man. Oh,
thanks,
yeah.
Amazing
awesome.
song.
It seems a bit darker.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I wondered if that actually, you know, some of the stuff that has happened this week has sort of been going on for a while and may have informed some of the newer music.
Yeah, it's actually interesting because like I mean I've got a couple of like really like breakup kind of heavy songs, or like definitely heavier content, like lyrical content wise in this last album, and people were like, what's going on, man? And I'm like, I don't know, like I'm fine, like me and my wife, we're like totally fine, like I was like, I have no idea. And then like not that long ago, my wife Sharana was like, maybe this is why you've got so many like crazy heavy like breakup kind of songs. And I was like, yeah, maybe.
She was looking for some reassurance that things
probably yeah. But yeah, because I don't really think too much about like what I want to write about. I just kind of sit down and like whatever comes out. So it's not like I'm not like I need to write a breakup song. Yeah. Like I need to write a happy song. It's just whatever mood I'm in on the day. So
have you noticed a difference in your writing? I mean, in the frequency of your writing with this whole thing? Has it made you sort of, like an outpouring? Or I mean, I know that some artists who have gone through similar things have stopped writing for a while because it's like it's too much and they've had to process it before it comes out.
Yeah, I've definitely got some pretty like heavy songs from it, and there was one song that I wrote that I was like, I need to release this right away. But then I obviously didn't, and I'm still sitting on it, wondering if I should put it in the next album. Yeah, or not. It's pretty heavy.
Do it. Yeah, I reckon do it.
Yeah, but then sometimes I'm
I
like,
haven't heard it, but just do it.
Well, I feel like we've been talking around the subject. We've been talking around it too long, and I mean, everyone probably by now knows because the story broke a couple of days ago.
Yeah, but the thing that also I was going to point out is that you clearly are switched on about your approach into this, and you've got a good plan. You're thinking objectively and everything, and it's so how do you end up in this deal, in this situation where someone's basically taking you for a ride?
Yeah, so we actually picked up on things really early on,
right?
And my wife Sharana is like a gun. She's really, really smart, and good at numbers and stuff like that. So she would pick up on things really quickly. Yeah. And we would send them through, and they'd make corrections in their accounting and stuff like that. But what you can't account for is when they actually don't tell you how much something's worth. So we'll do a gig, and he'd tell us it's worth half as much as it actually was. Yeah. And there's no way really around that except for going to the people who are booking you for the gig. Yep. And asking them how much. But then that's, at the time we were sort of wondering, but we weren't ready for that level of like, blatantly saying we don't trust you. Yeah. Because it's a huge thing. Because a manager's someone that you're supposed to trust.
Definitely.
And,
possibly, yeah.
And to do that is like, a huge display that you don't trust them in.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something that we were kind of like felt comfortable doing at the time.
Sure.
And so yeah, that's basically how it kind of escalated. And
how early into working with them did you start to question things? Are you talking like a few months or?
Yeah, I guess we really started to pick up on things like probably maybe 9 months to a year.
Okay. Yeah.
But then stuff like that's sort of when we started earning the money.
Right.
And when things started becoming obvious. But we would give them the benefit of the doubt because you just do, like you're just like, okay, things are crazy at the moment. Gigs coming in, money's coming in. They've got a lot of artists that they're handling as well, and they're doing all the accounts internally. Yep. And so at the time, it was really annoying that we'd have to sift through everything with a fine-tooth comb to pick everything out. But we gave them the benefit of the doubt because they would always be like, we've got your best interests at heart. We would never do like anything dodgy to you, like that kind of thing. And when someone says that, you're like, okay, that's fine. Yeah, yeah. And so for a really long time, we gave them the benefit of the doubt. And even when we were like, this is probably dishonest, but we're not quite ready to do the whole, like we didn't have hard proof.
Because I'll dig a little bit deeper into that artist-manager relationship, because it is like having a member of your family kind of, stomp on your head when something like this happens.
Right.
Because as an artist, you're great at making the music, you're a creative person, and traditionally, and I think this might be a cliche, but in my experience, artists are not that great at the business side of things, and we need someone to take care of it. We need them, and that's a massive responsibility to hand over to someone. And so you need to know that you trust that person and that they're a big part of your overall, what it is that you do, your brand, your organization, or whatever. And so you do feel like, oh man, I don't. The other side of me, if I don't believe what you're saying, that's too ugly to look at. I just want to put that aside and just, especially if you're a really positive person and you don't want to, rock the boat or make any waves. Right. But you've got this fucking thing hanging over your shoulder going, this does not feel right.
And don't you find there's also a dynamic of we're sort of told as musicians quite a lot that this is just the way it works, that this is just it's always worked that way. Don't question it. We're talking a second ago about how the industry keeps changing, and yet we kept getting told the same shit.
And like we were so green in the industry. Like I'd never had a manager before. My friends' bands had never had managers before. And so when he said most managers look after their artists, like money, it kind of comes into our account and then we send it through and then we pay expenses from that. I was like, okay. Because in my head, I'm like, okay, I don't have to do the accounts. I don't have to like look after the money. That sounds like something that I'd rather just pass off to someone else.
And you didn't have to set yourself up as a company, or?
Well, we did in the end. We totally had to. But if someone says, hey, we'll book a gig, we'll pay the session musicians for you, we'll handle everything, and then you get your payout at the end of that. You're like, that's a lot of trust to give someone, but okay, I trust this person.
And for 20%, probably a good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and you've probably never really heard anyone else talk about their experiences very much, their negative experiences. We talk quite a bit about how artists are constantly having to present themselves in a positive light because they're doing like very short PR spins and stuff, and they're not really getting into the dirty, undertones, undercurrent, So when especially up and comings, when do they hear about this shit?
How do you mean? Like,
I mean that. What I mean is they don't hear about it.
Yeah, that's right.
Because no one's talking about it. So
exactly
how are any of us to know before we end up in these situations?
Yeah, exactly.
Really? And like we've said it before, how brave it is for you to come forward, but really necessary, I think, for someone to sit there and, anyone who listens to this podcast who's thinking of maybe getting a career in music or any kind of entertainment, really, where they need a manager to take care of the business side of things. For them to go, oh, okay, you've got to watch out for these things. You've got to watch out for the pitfalls. I feel a little bit like either we're really too polite in this country or a little bit too PC, or we don't like to rock the boat too much. In case you are told.
I think you're right.
Just it's a mix of all.
Calm down a little bit there. Yeah.
I mean, now there's the MMF, the Music Managers Forum, which have members and those people have to stick to a guideline and
code of conduct.
Code of conduct. Yeah. So that is actually really good.
Right. So how long has that been in place?
It's been in place for a few years, I think.
Okay.
And a lot of the decisions that they've kind of done have been because of Matt.
Right. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So the Music Managers Forum, he was a member of that.
He was, yeah.
Right. And he's been stripped of membership and his awards.
He hasn't been a member for a while since they've changed like the rules and made it so that managers can't hold their artists' money in their own bank accounts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this before they knew about the court case, or just getting anecdotal reports from other musicians or bands?
Yeah. So this court case has been going on for a really, really long time, and it's kind of been simmering away in the music industry as well. So a lot of people have known about this for quite a while.
Right.
And they've also known that Matt has been dodgy for quite a while.
Yeah.
But the thing is that
allegedly.
It's all been
not allegation
not now, but it was allegedly. So they were like, this guy's probably dodgy, but we can't actually do anything because no one's got actual proof.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you can't really do anything to someone without actual hard evidence. So.
Yeah. But getting back to Bobby's point about it's not a comfortable process to stand up for yourself.
And,
like, how did you find that grit? I mean, did you just get to the point where it pissed you off too much, and across the line, or like?
Well, we didn't really go into this as a like taking the moral high ground kind of thing. We actually what had happened is when I parted ways with Matt, I'd done a summer's worth of gigs, and I was like, cool, this is over. Can I have my money from the summer's worth of gigs? And he was like, no, you actually owe me money. And
fuck that.
And so the irony is that he owed me about 50 grand from those gigs. Yeah. And then and if he had just paid it, we never would have investigated him.
Right.
But because he held on to it, we were like, this is so crap. He actually owes us money. We know it. And so we audited him.
Right.
And the audits, they wouldn't open up their books for us to see. And so we had to go back to source documentation.
That's in the contract, though, in a standard record or management contract, isn't it?
It is.
That you should be allowed to look at.
It is. I didn't sign a contract with Matt.
You had an oral agreement.
An oral agreement,
right,
yeah.
Okay.
And so our accountant would go back. So we started calling up every person who had booked us for gigs.
Yeah.
And every person who had kind of done any kind of business dealings with us. And we went back to original source documentation. And over the course of a year, the number just kept on growing and growing until it was 300,000.
And what was his story? Was he trying to say that the costs had exceeded the income and?
No, his story just changed with the win. So like, one day it would be something, and the next day it would be something different.
Couldn't keep his lies straight.
Yeah. So and so once we found that it was over a certain amount, we were like, okay, we need to actually do court proceedings for this. And we never actually expected it to go to court, and I think everyone was really surprised when it finally got there, because we would give him offer after offer of like, look, it's 300 grand, but if you pay us 170 or something like that, that'll be fine. We won't go to court. We'll write off the rest of it.
Yeah,
we just don't want to have to go through court. And he just declined offer after offer.
Was there mediation at all? Or?
No. And he only, you can't really mediate with Matt. He's not someone who accepts any other's viewpoint. So
it's amazing that he couldn't. I mean, he must have been really cocky about. He must have really believed that he'd be able to talk himself out of it. I mean, otherwise, surely he'll understand that he's annihilated himself in the industry now.
Yeah, I think he genuinely believes and still believes that he's in the right.
Yeah,
and he's not accepting the judgment. He doesn't believe that.
But he's not going to challenge it, though.
He's not going to challenge it.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting with him. I think he's kind of believes his own lies in a way.
It's kind of scary, isn't it?
That
kind of delusion.
Yeah, yeah. It is, and it's particularly crazy because you can't reason with that kind of person.
Yeah.
It's.
Now the judge said something. I read the ruling up to about page 15 of 60.
Wow!
Before I fell asleep last night. I found it fascinating. It was the way that the judge broke it down. In points. Each of them had a number, and just stripped away all the evidence that he was giving. As don't believe this. Sorry, this is not true. It doesn't pan out. Whatever. But there were parts in the judgment where I think the judge said something like, "You could put some of this. It would be generous to put some of this down to incompetence."
Yeah.
That's generous.
Yeah.
But the certain thing about the rap fund, which we can get to. That's just outright, blatant fraud.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's a fair term to describe it. I don't think that's what the judge necessarily used, but that's dishonesty was the word. Yeah. So it's some of it you can put down to not knowing what you're doing, but you would hope if you're paying someone 20% of everything that they would know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But there are
that's what you hire them for, right?
That's what you hire them for.
Yeah.
So then the dishonesty factor comes into it quite clearly. It's I'm boggled by some of the things that he's done. And how betrayed you must feel.
Yeah, it was that feeling of betrayal was worse when we found out how long it had been going on for.
Right.
I think probably my lowest point was when I found out that he'd been doing it right from the very start when we were earning not that much and going on tour but struggling to go on tour.
Right.
There was this part where was this one time where we were waiting for some money to come in, and we had flights and accommodation and stuff like that to book for a sweet overseas tour that we'd just got, and we had like nothing in our bank account, and we were just struggling, and we were like, Matt, when's this money gonna come through? It was from our record label, and we were like, when's it coming through? We've got bills to pay. We've got rent for our house, and we've also got all these flights and accommodation and tour costs to pay as well.
Yep. You got to pay the band as well.
Yeah. Got to pay the band, and we were like, when is it coming in? We're like right up to the line, and Matt was like, sorry guys, Warner aren't gonna send it through until you've done this, or like he's like, it's not come through yet, they're not sure about it, and that kind of thing, and we later found out that they'd paid it in quite a bit before, and he was just lying to us and telling us that that was a point where we were just so like struggling and so desperate for it, and he was just lying to our face.
Was that the Outward Sound payments, or
it was a tour support money from Warner to us to go on tour, and we were like just relying on it, and it had been paid to Matt, and he had just kept it and never.
So it might be stating the obvious, but it's something that just enrages me about the fact that it's already so fucking hard to be a musician.
Yeah,
you know, and then these kind of people come in and just make it that much harder. You know?
That's the thing, is like it's actually incredibly hard to be a musician and to make money off it, and to make a living, and to go on tour. Tours are so expensive.
That's right.
And you live this life of uncertainty, and you just like constantly aware that your money in your bank account could go like straight away and not be refilled. Yeah. And
as well as your career.
Totally. And that's at the best of times. And so when someone's actively working against you, who you've trusted and hired to work in your best interest, man, that was, I don't think I've been angry before like I'd been angry at that.
It must have felt like someone had invaded your whole being.
It was, you know? It was very much like,
I would have made you feel sick,
like someone that you just placed the utmost trust in has just like totally betrayed
literally like taking food off your table, isn't it really?
And I guess the other thing also is we're talking about music, which is something that we all start out loving and being passionate about, and often in music is the thing that we use to survive other shit in our lives, and now the thing that we rely on is become a painful thing, a painful subject.
So that was tough.
I think that may be why some artists go through something like this and stop writing for a while. They have to get away from it.
Potentially.
How do you do it now? How do you face the music industry and go, this is still something I love to do, this is still something I'm passionate about doing, and I'm continuing to do it after something like that has happened to you?
I don't know. I guess music's just something that I've always done. I don't have any other like skills, and I don't have like any other jobs waiting for me. So I just continue to do music.
So you were able to not lose your passion for music then for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I need to, as a refresher. Like at the moment, I'm going through a bit of a refresher. I feel like I need to do that after each album.
Right.
And at the moment, I'm like writing with other people, recording other people, mixing their projects and stuff like that. And that's kind of a way to stay creative and excited about music.
Excellent.
But not be so crazy focused on my own stuff.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, not all managers out there are dodgy like this. There are some great managers out there. But that said, there have been so many of these stories around that you just sometimes you think it's a bit of a cliche. But not many people get to hear it. Certainly not in the way that it's been, put out there this week with the Herald and stuff and all those other people who are in probably this podcast. That it doesn't get talked about that much.
I think that's a great point, because when this story came out, the thing that crossed my mind, well, I wasn't shocked that it happened. I was really surprised and really glad that you've stood up for yourself and that it's actually come out. Because it usually just happens and quietly gets put away, doesn't it?
I guess and we were actually really torn, because I didn't want to be the person that was like, hey everyone, look at me, I got ripped off, like let's talk about it kind of thing. Because I don't know, maybe it's the New Zealander in me, but I just kind of like want to get on with what I do, and I don't want to draw attention to myself for that reason. what happened was, everybody, a lot of journalists had found out about it, and we were like, let's not go to them. Let's not go to them and talk about it. Let's just see if they come to us.
Okay.
And if something happens, then so be it. We'll talk about it and we'll be fine with it. And so we didn't actually really seek it out. But yeah, and at the same time, the other thing that we were thinking about was that we had a phone call from Matt before the judgment. Before we went to court, and he said, "Hey, I've got no money. You've done all right out of this. I've done all right out of this. If you go to court, how about we just call it even, because if we go to court, you're gonna spend a whole bunch of money and not get any of it back. And we've all done pretty good out of this, so how about we just call it evens?"
What a fucking creep.
And so after that, I was so mad.
Yeah.
And me and Sharana talked about it for a little bit, and we were like, he's probably actually right. He's probably got no money, but we were like, we still need to go through with it for the other artists that he screwed over.
Yeah, exactly.
And
exactly,
because it's not just
I'd have to drop in there and say allegedly, because nothing's been proven about screwing over other artists, though, right? You've got anecdotal.
He's got another court case against him from another artist,
right? Okay.
And I know. Oh yeah, all right. So let's say allegedly.
Yeah.
But. Yeah. In all honesty, it's not just me.
Yeah, of course not.
Because we've all talked about.
I just don't want to get sued.
There's a true. There's a little Matt Coleman support group, for all our all the artists that have been with him. We all.
You can tell us off air, and we'll maybe interview them anonymously.
But yeah, so we were like, it's so much bigger than us.
Yeah.
And that's the real reason we went to court for him.
Right.
We didn't go to out him in the media and be like, this guy's a crook, everyone look at him.
Yeah.
We went because we've got friends, and it's bigger than just us.
And it's bigger than him as well. I mean, there are a lot of dicks out there posing managers. I mean, that's what I'm really grateful to you, because I think of all of the musicians up and coming and established as well, who are going to really get a lot out of this. I mean, I think it's fantastic that you've done this.
Thank you. Yeah. And it was a really hard decision to make, because it just cost us so much money. But
right.
But yeah, it just felt like the right decision to do. But and not at all because we wanted to out him in the media.
No.
But that just kind of happened, and now we're rolling with it.
And his company was liquidated in November, but the judgment wasn't against the company; it was against him personally, wasn't it?
I think the judgment's against him personally and against his company.
Right.
I'm not sure that it was clear in the court.
Right.
The thing.
Yeah.
So you're under the impression that you're not actually going to see any money. Is that?
Yeah, we're not particularly sure if we are going to see any money.
Yeah.
And we were actually supposed to liquidate his company ourselves, but he beat us to it. So what happens is if you do it, you're first in line,
right?
And he managed to just beat us to it, and so I guess it's I don't know what his reasons were, but now the IRD and ACC will be first in line, and we'll be whatever.
But I mean, if a judge has come to this decision, I mean, there must be some sort of mechanism in place to help you try and get paid, right?
Yeah, that's right. So we're currently in that process.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I suppose it's only been a week.
The court case was in August, wasn't it? But
really? I thought
but the judgment came down this week.
Yeah. It took a few months for it to come through. Gotcha. So we've had judgment for about maybe 3 weeks now.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a slow process.
Yeah.
We're not expecting to get anything back, but we are hoping to get our court costs covered.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. Which must be pretty big, right?
Huge. Over 100 grand. Over 100 grand, yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, huge.
That'd be the minimum you'd want to at least get back, huh?
Yeah,
is that supposedly included in the 300 and...
No, that's on top.
That's on top, okay.
But you actually can't get 100% of your court costs back. We're applying for 75%.
Wow. That's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just recently had some dealings with a lawyer over buying a house, and they were like, and there was something we didn't agree with. And he said, well, you can have as much justice as you can afford, basically.
That's so it. And the other thing that made it even scarier was Matt had counterclaims against us. So if we lost against Matt and he won against us, we would have to pay his court costs. So not only would we be like 300 and actually it would be like 400 and something grand out of pocket, but we'd have to pay his costs as well.
His cost would be about the same again, would it?
Another not the same, but
which would have made it a lot more risky, even more risky to.
Yeah, that's right, and that's why that honestly that week was just the most stressful week ever. Like you couldn't imagine how like just everything on the line. Like it's crazy.
What was it
Never
like?
Go to court.
What was it like when they read out the result?
Oh, the funny thing is this is what most people don't like. I didn't realize this, and everybody I've talked to hasn't realized, is that the verdict just comes through in an email. So we were just like, me and Sharon were just hanging out at home with her brother, and we were just like eating lunch or something, and then I get a text through from my lawyer, and he was like, "Good news in your inbox," and instantly our hearts just stopped, and we were like, "Oh, here it comes!" And I load up my email, and there's nothing there. And then I'm like, refresh. Nothing there. Refresh. And then 5 minutes later, it finally comes through. 5 minutes later of pacing.
So the universe is just torturing you. I was hoping there was going to be like a Boston legal moment, like some great speech by James Spader was your lawyer, right?
Yeah. I wanted the judge. I wanted her to bang her like gavel. Yeah. I wanted that. At least a GIF, like an animated GIF of that.
You've paid $100,000 for it. You know, you want the experience, right?
Totally. An animated GIF in your email. That's excellent. And so, what was that feeling like that when you read it through? Because it's quite involved.
Yeah.
Like I said before, it's 60 pages.
Yeah.
But what was that feeling when you suddenly realised, shit, we've got him?
Yeah, such a good feeling. Like such a great feeling. I mean, we left the courtroom at the end of the week knowing that we had it all in the bag anyway.
Right.
And so we kind of knew what it was. Like you can tell by the judge's questions throughout the week how her brain was working.
Right. Very methodical, I must say, reading through it and point by point, as I say, and stripping it all back.
So much respect for her. She's just like so smart, really smart. The fact that she basically learnt the music industry in the course of a week.
I was just going to ask that because it's such a bizarre industry.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have a music lawyer or just a regular lawyer?
That's the other thing. Is we had music lawyers putting it together for us and then giving it to our court lawyer.
Yeah.
And he learnt it all as well.
Right.
And put it all together, and they have these giant bundles and man, they're just so smart.
Because I was going to say,
next level smart.
Yeah,
I was going to say that your lawyer who represented you in court's probably going to get a lot of phone calls from musicians going, "Hey,
Yeah, when they find out how much he costs, they'll probably not.
Right. Maybe he'll do some pro bono.
Yeah. But the judge, she was actually quite impartial, so she was very, very respectful to Matt. Even as it got through the week, halfway through the week, it just became so clear that he was like really a crook, and it was all there to see, and you could tell the judge what she was thinking by the questions she was asking, but she still like just had so much respect for all the people in the courtroom, even though she was dealing with someone that you could tell she just had absolute disdain for, disdain for what he's done. But she still treated him really well, which we were just like, wow, she is incredible.
Total pro, right?
Yeah,
that's why she's a judge, I guess.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she was awesome.
Man, I can't even imagine what you've gone through and how much stress that's been for you guys, you and your wife, because you're in a team, you're in it together.
Yeah.
And what effect that might have on you going forward in your music career, rather. And I hope that it's, from here it's only up. There's not too much more that. And as you say, there's probably more in line for Matt, and there are some other people out there who are looking to knock on the door.
Yeah, I think it's actually been really good because it's an opportunity for giant shakedown in the music industry.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people that can really kind of take away from this. Even just down to the way recorded music operates. Like he managed to just say that he owned our music. And
yeah, let's unravel that a little bit, because I have some concerns about that too.
Yeah, because he kind of just went to them and said, "Yeah, I own it. It's all mine. And I'll collect Dave's artist share as well, and I'll take that too." And they were like, "Cool, yeah, thumbs up, sweet.
Just give me a bank account."
And they
I'll give you my personal one.
Like I feel like at the very least, they could have just gone to the individual artists and been like, "Hey, is this cool?"
Yeah.
And if they want to be really tight, they should be like, "Sweet, show us the contract that says you own this music."
Right.
Because you literally can, if you're a manager, just go to them and say, "Hey, I own this. Give it to me." And they won't go to the artist and ask them. And that's a huge thing.
Why?
And I expect they'll be changing that.
Also, and they very well should as well.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's not your job as an artist to know all of these different funds and pools of money, because this is the rap fund we're talking about, isn't it? So the rap fund is a fund, as I understand it.
Not called the rap fund anymore, though,
is it? That. Oh, I don't know.
It's called recorded.
It's called record. Yeah.
Oh, right, but it was traditionally.
It used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Up until like recently, I think.
Right. Okay.
It might still be.
So I don't know. I haven't had a payment from them for ages. But
I think Matt Coleman got your.
But you're absolutely right that they only wanted one point of contact. They didn't want to have to divvy it out amongst other people. So for us, they only wanted one point of contact with the band, and that would all be deposited into one person's account, and then that person would have to divvy it up amongst the others. It's not your traditional sort of. It's not APRA. It's not APRA or MCOS royalties.
Yep.
It's, as I understand it, for royalties from radio play and record sales, for those artists who haven't got a share in the necessarily got a share in the royalties of the songwriting. It's the recording of it, right?
Yeah.
So the people who have played on the album as musicians, who might not have a say over the actual publishing side of things, or a share in that. Oftentimes they're one and the same. So there's a 50% share that's supposed to go to the label who owns. Now I think, is it because the label owns or manages the rights of the master recording, and then the artists who played on that recording is the other 50%.
Yeah,
is that right?
That's
Does
right.
That sound right?
Yeah.
So in your instance, Matt, and not let the people speak. Matt, let's be clear about that. Has gone to them and said, I own the rights to the music, and like you said, take your share of it as well.
That's right.
And you didn't know about that rap fund at all.
No.
You didn't know it existed.
No.
Not many bands do.
No.
Not many artists do. You don't know.
But
you make a great point that they should tighten up their systems.
Totally. It's loose as. It's loose. It's crazy.
Because you're talking tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Sitting around.
That's right. And not only us as well. Like we know that the other artists on Matt's roster has had all their recorded music money sent to Matt as well, without their knowledge. So
oh my goodness,
it is. I mean, I expect that's what I was saying. Like now, this is just one giant opportunity for everyone to sort of, clean themselves up a little bit and
one of the big changes, I think, in my opinion, is that with the industry, the old industry, these companies were able to offer serious exposure and distribution and access to radio and all of these things that are now not really there anymore.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So we can actually be independent and end up no worse off to a point.
Yeah.
To a point. So, I mean, I think it's the positive outcome is that we're going to collectively start challenging these things more and more.
Yeah. From my perspective, so I still feel like I need a manager.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge amount. Like now, I'm with Chug Entertainment in Australia.
Yep.
And they have a team of people, and it is, I gotta say, it is luxurious. It is like incredible. They're like organizational ninjas.
Right.
And the stuff that we can accomplish with a team of people is like so much far above what you can accomplish just by yourself.
Yeah.
And as a musician, I spend all my time
that's what you want,
thinking about music and writing music. And exactly what I want is someone to handle all the logistics, all the nitty gritty, like replies to emails and all that kind of stuff.
I think it's safe to say that the majority of artists out there aren't fortunate enough to be on the radar for a company like Chug.
Oh, that's true. And that's where the internet is so amazing is you can actually just put your stuff up and like, I mean, now, like, for music, you just try and conquer the internet before you try and conquer anything else. And you don't actually really need a manager for that.
Well, that's sort of what I'm getting at, because we're all brought up to believe that you're supposed to want the deal. You know, you pursue, and you don't even know why exactly. I think half the people out there don't even know what a record contract is.
I know. You know, and the funny thing is that everything's all changed, and the kids are really savvy with the internet now. Right. But for some reason, they still are chasing that record deal. Yeah. And I have no idea why.
I don't totally understand it either.
Totally, it's a badge of honor.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
In my career growing up, I was lucky enough to have 2 record deals. Yeah, and that very first one, you're so proud of it. It's like, oh, I got a record deal. Yeah, and then you sit back and wait for the $1 million checks to roll in. Yeah, that never come. Yeah, you know. So I guess in a way, that's. You can go, you can tell your family, your friends, I got a record deal.
I think that might be
Other than going, oh, we're released on iTunes. Oh, that's so professional. Good on you. Everyone's released on fucking iTunes.
Condescending.
The greater, the reason that you would have a record deal and managers and booking agents and stuff like that, the reason that you would have those is to get the extra level of exposure. So you can put yourself on the internet and stuff. And sure, I don't actually need a record label and to be able to put my stuff on the internet and spread it around the world. But what I actually need them for is great touring opportunities, and great like exposures with they just help with getting on New Zealand radio and stuff like that. So it actually is still like a huge help, but you don't need to chase it. I think the best thing is to let them chase you.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. And we were talking on I was going to say a previous episode, but I think we were talking on an episode that's coming out next week. Oh, cool. About how the music that goes to radio now is so much narrower than it used to be. Yeah. And so for so many artists out there, it's sort of redundant to pursue those deals. I mean, you're in that small percent, I guess, of the music that actually is on the radio. But like if you're a jazz artist or something like that, I mean, you're not going to end up on The Edge. No, so. But the point is that it's not an automatic pursuit anymore. It's like it's not just an automatic ambition.
That's right.
It's got to make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm getting from you.
Yeah, and the record labels used to also help you get into retail when things were sold in a physical form as well, right? Yeah. And then for that, they generally would ask for 80% of everything,
Wow.
And you would get 20%, but then you would only get 20% after you've paid back for the recording costs. Which is crazy, so rubbish. And so I would encourage people, and I think we've talked about it on the show before, about, I know that record sales are non-existent anymore in physical form, but just, I guess this is a warning for everybody, your case, and obviously these other ones that are probably coming through the pipeline, just for those artists out there to make sure they know where their money's going, where it's coming from. You don't have to be the one to fill in the tax returns or send out the invoices, but you should know how much you're getting paid for a gig, and you should know how much you're paying out to whomever is giving you services, and where your royalties, where all of your income streams are coming from.
It is really hard though, as an artist to be that person though. Like it's actually incredibly hard to like stay on top of everything, and I just know that a lot of artists, like, I shy away from talking about money all the time. And if there's a chance to talk about money or not talk about money, I know what I'll take.
That's definitely part of our culture too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it could be.
But musicians are, I know what you mean. It's definitely a musician thing as well. Yeah. Do you think that's just a cyclical kind of cultural thing within our industry? It's just not cool.
I have no idea. I have no idea what it is. I mean, we all appreciate getting paid, but I'd love to know. There's probably some psychologist out there who studied it, but yeah, like I feel like everyone who's in the arts, whether it's a painter or a sculptor, we're all terrible with money. We all suck at chasing
it's that art versus commerce thing.
I was just going to say that. Yeah,
it might be.
People don't want it's like being told you're selling out because you give a shit about money, or you sign a sync deal for TV2. You know, have you had that? Have you had people saying you're sold out? And
no, not really. No, there was one Jono and Ben skit where they made fun of me for selling out, and I took it to heart, but I've forgiven them now.
Right.
Yeah,
we might have to.
Right, it was tongue in cheek. They didn't mean it. But
Right. Yeah.
I think it just rhymed with something in their song that they were doing at the time. But that was the only time anyone's ever said it, and
Yeah.
but it still hurt, even though I knew it was just a joke.
Yeah. But I think that whole viewpoint is irrelevant. You know, the people have to get paid for what they do.
Yeah.
More and more these days, it's probably more and more important.
Yeah,
I think
totally.
it happened. I don't know if it's happened to you, but it's happened to I think most of us at some point. If someone sort of said, "Oh, you're in it for the wrong reasons," or
really?
why are you talking about money? And it's always infuriated me. You know, why should everyone get paid except for us?
I feel like that's maybe like it's a lot different now. Like I feel like my the musicians sort of that are like a little bit younger than me are pretty open to their stuff going on ads and stuff like that, because I think it's pretty standard now for everyone to understand that you actually don't make money touring. You don't make money playing shows.
Right.
You don't make money selling CDs. You certainly don't make money off streaming or YouTube.
That's right.
And so what's left?
Yeah.
Publishing, advertising. And so
merchandise, merch sales.
No, not even really.
Yeah.
And so like I think for younger musicians coming up, they're pretty aware that the only aspect of music that the industry that makes money is publishing. So you might find that with some of the older cats, where they think that there's still money to be made in touring and stuff. But a lot of the kids now are like, yeah, I'll put it on an ad. Like if it's the only way I'm going to make money, so yeah.
I think you're right. I mean, I've noticed a lot of the guys who are the musicians who are late teens, early 20s. I mean, they've only been in the industry since all this changed.
Yeah.
You know, I've noticed there's a difference in their attitude, and it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, totally.
And I guess though, if they're going to go sign one of those elusive contracts that we were talking about earlier, they're going to have to be prepared to sign some of that publishing away as well. Yeah. Because the record companies have recognised publishing is where they've always known that, but now in order for you to get a deal, you're going to have to give me 50% of your publishing, which is just
360
unfucking heard of before, you know, and it's unbelievable. Everyone's trying to clip their ticket, and then on top of that, if you've got people who are dishonest with your money, you're screwed 7 ways from Sunday.
That's right.
Yeah.
And some of the deals also include really strange little policies as well. Was it you that was telling me about the policy that dates back to breakages or something, but it carried over to digital?
Yeah, and that actually I wonder actually if that's in being put back into deals when now that vinyl's becoming more popular again, because that's where it originated. Was that shipping vinyl out from warehouses to stores, a number of them, because they're quite fragile, would show up broken. So that means that stock has to be biffed out. And so that's called breakage, and every artist in their record contract had a percentage that would go towards breakage cost of inevitably losing, some cost to that. But when vinyl went by the wayside, and then you had, CDs, it happened less and less often. Maybe you might break a case or here and there. I only know this because I used to manage a music warehouse, so these sorts of things. But the breakage clause stayed in those contracts, and all of those little things that record companies would put in there and leave in there, see if the artist notices this. In itself is probably a form of dishonesty. If you're going to be honest.
It carried into digital when there was no hard copies,
and
right?
then and it carried into and these little things carried into digital after there was no hard copies, but also
interesting. Wow,
it's because bands didn't know about it, and that's why you need good management and representation. And
I always say that's with your lawyer, like your music lawyer should be looking over things like that. And I always say that lawyers are like the one thing that you do not want to scrimp on.
And
you want to pay the best.
Definitely.
And accountants. So you had
right.
Linda Parsons look over some of the stuff.
And man, she is incredible as well.
Absolutely.
We had the dream team on this day. And she picked up a lot of things. And she stood her ground really well to Matt hired some bullying accountant from a major accounting firm downtown. And he just tried to bully Linda and her girls around. Man, it's so she wouldn't take it.
Of course.
Well, I was meaning to ask before, what was Matt's background? I mean, what did he do before music?
So he came up through, I think, Sony
record
label. So he came up through
okay.
Sony and then changed to, I think he worked in Warner in New Zealand.
Oh.
And then he left to do music management.
Right.
But he's also done various other things. So he was involved with TextTunes. I don't know if you remember TextTunes from years ago.
No.
And another tech startup in the States where people could tweet in or text in to a thing, and they would on NBA games would scroll along the bottom of the screen, like people who would like shout out to my girl, like whatever, and it would scroll along the screen of the NBA game. Mm-hmm. So he was involved with that technology as well. So
but
he's a bit of a businessman.
Sold that though, didn't he?
He did sell that. Yeah.
It's not like you can go after that company for the money that you're owed.
No, he sold it. And now he's in VR.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone actually hacked his magnifyworld.com
I heard about this
website, and it just goes straight to this spin-off article.
Oh, really?
Which do not endorse hacking, but that is pretty funny.
It is pretty funny. Yeah,
that's hilarious. What's Magnify World? Is that's
his VR company?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. And whenever they go to visit the site, they go to that. Oh, Jesus. Oh, snap. And has that been changed?
I'm not sure. Has it been changed back? Has it been,
too.
I'm not sure.
Oh my God.
I like to think Anonymous is on my side.
Speaking of people on your side, though, do you think it's time for... I know that there is some semblance of a musicians, collective in this country.
Yep.
Or a union. I've never been a member. I don't really know where they exist.
Is there a union?
I think they've tacked on the side of some other union that has nothing to do with music, like the Seafarers Union or some shit. I made that up, but something not really appropriate.
Yep.
Do you think there's time for either a musicians forum or a musicians union?
Yeah, I would definitely. I'm not sure whether union's the right word,
right?
But I
collective.
I think that there is definitely an opportunity now to set up. Like a collective or like a group of musicians who are like, hey, we're all friends, let's help each other out. If anyone's got anything that they want to run past other people, then by all means. And we've helped out other friends of ours who've sent us through deals that they've been offered and stuff like that, and we've read through them and advised them on things. Because we've learnt a lot through all this.
Right.
There are a lot of groups in the industry that are, put together by industry people,
Yep.
But there's not that many groups that are just musicians for musicians' sake.
That's right, yeah.
And I mean, we were talking about this before you got here. I mean, there are so many stories of weird and bad deals and things going wrong.
Right.
I mean, there must be a way of collecting that information and, artists that have been through the ringer helping other artists out and stuff.
Yeah, there's got to be, and I think that now is like probably a really good time, and I know that I've been talking to other people about it, but all it takes is, I guess, one person to kind of spearhead it, or a group of people to spearhead it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been hiring a writing space at downstairs at Smoke Studios, which is Parachute's kind of headquarters.
Oh yeah.
And so there's me and Benny Tippini, we share a room, and then Joe Farris, who is Ezra Vine, who also got screwed over by Matt.
Yep.
And
should we say allegedly there, or is this something that's well known? I don't know. Up to you.
Let's say allegedly, but he does have a court case against him.
Okay.
Which probably will be dropped now, I think, given that Matt will be like, I don't know.
Yeah. There's not too much you could defend there, probably.
No.
Who knows?
But anyway, yeah. So that's already starting to become a bit of a community hub type place, which is really cool.
Am I the first one that's just realised the irony of a company called Let the People Speak?
I put it up on Facebook the other day.
Oh, did you?
The people have well and truly spoken.
Goff did that post as well.
Yeah, he stole it off me.
Oh, did he?
I'm sure he did. And then because it was 4 hours later,
and
Lorraine put Indeed, and actually the word indeed was in my post 4 hours earlier. But anyway, that's fine. They can have that. They can claim that it's theirs.
You were the first.
But I've got the time-stamped evidence.
Screenshot that.
Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah. Gavin, it's on Gavin Downey. So you know Gav? You must know Gav. He's been on this episode a few times.
And very strangely, he just emailed me.
Yeah.
Right.
Really? just before you said that.
Oh, ironically.
Yeah, weird.
But he was a great... He on the day... He's got all of these the friends in the music industry.
Yeah.
He started posting after post after post after post. He's very passionate about it.
Really?
About not being screwed over. I don't know if he's been screwed over by Matt or that company before, but he was like, "Fuck this scumbag," you know.
Yeah.
These are his words. That you know, you can't do this to people. Because we've talked to Gavin about how hard it is for even the other guys in the industry, the techs, and to make a living, and for him to screw over, you know, artists like this, it's just unconscionable.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Oh well, that's great to hear. There's a collective. There's a movement maybe gaining some pace there, because I think this is the first one I've heard of, this first court case of this kind, certainly in my generation.
Yeah.
Maybe it is the start of something. Who knows?
I don't know. The justice
Could there be an
system,
avalanche, so to speak, of court cases coming after this?
I don't expect
Dad
it because...
joke.
Yeah, shut up. Get fucked.
Should I be responding to this, or were you only saying it just to get that joke out?
No.
He was practicing that before.
Both of you get fucked.
The court process is so long and so expensive that there's not many people who perhaps should even go through it,
right?
Unless there's serious money involved. But to give you an like an overview, we ended management with Matt 3.5 years ago,
right?
And we've been doing it pretty much ever since.
Wow.
Auditing him and collecting evidence, and then we got our court date a full year before we could get into court. So like I think August or something like that, or September, in 2015, we applied for a court date, and then they gave it to us a year later in August 2016.
So this is not just a matter of winning the case, but this is the end of a very stressful and long chapter for you.
That's right. Really, really long journey.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't really be undertaken without knowing that it's going to take a really, really long time. And the thing that got us about it is that because it took three years, that's 3 years Matt had to just spend our money.
Right.
And to get rid of it and to hide it wherever he wanted.
And to plan, basically, to liquidate potentially.
Yeah, that's right. And so we don't think that he did, because we think that he thought that he had no chance of getting taken down anyway. We thought that he thought he was immune, you know. But if anyone was smarter, like they'd have 3 years essentially to hide it.
That's right.
And he was able to delay it quite a long time.
Yeah.
And he even tried to, right up until the very last second, delay the court date for a full another 6 months on top of the year date.
So then there's more lawyers costs for you.
Yeah, that's right. So he was in delaying tactics the whole time.
Yeah.
And so that's what we were really fighting against.
What did it feel like this week when it all blew up?
Pretty bizarre actually, because we've been processing it for a really long time, and our close friends have known about it, and our family's known about it, and then now I feel like we're reprocessing it again, but in public, and yeah, it's just a bizarre thing for everyone to know, and it's not something that we were able to talk about, and because anything that we talked about could hurt the case, you know, because the New Zealand music industry is so small that we actually sometimes we found one huge damning piece of evidence that we weren't able to tell anyone about, like we didn't even really tell close friends about it, just in case, and that was so we've been living under this whole thing of we can't really talk about it for 3 years, you know, and so now it's actually like quite bizarre.
I mean, does it feel like a weight off your shoulders? I mean,
it totally does. Yeah. Actually, I feel like I've been walking a lot lighter this week.
Right.
And the scariest part is just how finance is getting out there, you know? Like, because the court thing is totally open. Like anyone can go read it. Anyone can go read what we were paid for gigs. Anyone can go read like how much we earned and stuff like that. So it's just from that perspective, it was really hard. And all mixed emotions before the article came out, because we knew it was coming out.
Yeah.
Just huge, like, this is good that it's coming out, because we want people to be able to Google Matt and find out that he's a crook before anyone else signs up, you know? If you're a young artist, you'd Google Matt and find out what he's been up to. But then at the same time, just really hard to have all your personal stuff like flayed out like that.
That's right. Yeah.
That's true.
Did you get any? I saw nothing but support on social media. Did you get any criticism?
That's a great question. Great question.
Yeah, not really actually. I mean the odd like weird comment on the Stuff article, which apparently is part and parcel with Stuff articles.
Right.
But but yeah, like no one's. I mean, you know, like we all know that we live in a bit of a bubble on social media. You only have like hear what your friends say. So, but yeah, there were a couple of people that were like, last time I bet last time he trusts a musician, and like,
what?
Sounds like it turns out they're not such a great band after all, like that kind of thing.
And I was like, just trolls.
And someone underneath them replied and were like, dude, I think you missed the point of the article. And I was like, I think it's pretty sure they didn't read it properly.
I wonder how many people were sitting there going, $300,000. Oh, that's nothing to a millionaire. He must be a millionaire by now.
That's right. And the funniest part is Matt's,
which you're not, by the way. I just want to point out.
And
most likely,
the funniest thing is Matt's comment in there, like I've done hard work, earning him his millions of dollars, like that kind of thing. And I was like,
did he say that?
Yeah. And I was like, wait, hold on a second. Where's my millions of dollars?
I can't believe he said that.
Yeah, and like, he totally did. He said that in the courtroom as well. You know, like he got handed his in his summary statement in the courtroom. He's ungrateful. I handed him his $1 million recording career on a silver platter. And he's ungrateful for it. And man, so you wouldn't believe it. You're forced to sit there and listen to them in the courtroom and not say anything. You're not even allowed to laugh or like whisper to your scoff or like whisper to your friend or whatever. The hardest thing to do when he's saying stuff like that.
But this is the thing about bad guys, eh? Like bad guys don't exist like they do on TV.
But hang on, that smacks to me of delusion on many levels, and I'm sure that's not a surprise to anyone. This sounds like a very deluded person. But but also, is there some sort of I guess jealousy behind that in a way that I've or grandiose kind of level of I made you who you are. I deserve to be able to take some of this from you because you wouldn't be anything without me. Or, is there some of that happening? Because I have noticed some of that in the music industry as well.
Oh,
I think a little bit.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure. I can't really speak to what's going on inside his brain because it's just a mystery. But I think that that there must be some of that. Like you're a manager and you're earning 20% of what your artist is earning. Yeah. And it must be like, I don't know, I guess because you're expected to have lots of artists. So you're actually, if you've got 5 artists and you're earning 20%, then you're earning the same as any one of those artists. Yeah. But there must be something like that, eh? You get a thing come in, it's good money, and you have to pay out 80% of what comes in. Well, and I bet there must just be so much temptation. If you don't have anyone else in your company, and let the people speak, it's just Matt and his wife, right? And there's no one else in accounts, no like person sitting at their desk that they have to run everything through, right? So there's no one to make them feel ashamed about what they whatever they're doing. So that's right. So I imagine the temptation must be quite real, And
I was going to say before about the bad guy thing that they're. In the real world, bad guys don't believe they're bad guys.
That's it.
They've justified it all to themselves, and in his mind, he probably is right.
Yeah,
he probably never thought he screwed you because he's convinced himself otherwise.
And he still doesn't. No, he still doesn't. Yeah. I mean, you can tell that he's rejected the judgment, thinks she's wrong, that kind of thing.
He knows better.
Yeah.
What piece of advice would you give someone that might be in a similar situation and thinking about either going down the same road you did, or people who might get themselves into a situation with a manager that might not be above board.
Well, I mean, you never know, do you? Because this is the thing. You take Matt Coleman out of the game. There's more of them.
Yeah.
So, and if you're you back in the day or us, you don't know who you're getting involved with. They could be great. They could not be. So
That's right,
what do you think would be the advice on how to try to work that out?
So is your scenario you haven't got you haven't been screwed yet and might be, or
maybe you're suspicious that there's something not quite right going on.
Yeah, I don't actually know what the best solution is. I mean, we did it our way, and we ended things, and it was just like a giant fight to get it back. I guess.
What about a written contract? Do you regret not getting that?
Oh, no way! That was the thing that saved me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
okay.
That saved me big time.
Interesting.
Yeah. Not having a written contract was just the biggest blessing.
Oh.
And
was that a deliberate act, the stalling and the not signing it and just putting them off and putting them off?
It wasn't at first, and then it became deliberate. So at first it was just there were too many things going on, too many contracts to negotiate.
Yeah.
And then after, once we finally got around to the management contract, we realized that things weren't going right. But in terms of advice, I don't actually know. I mean, the whole court thing is just so costly and so draining that should really be a last resort. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, there should really only be one Matt Coleman in the world. And
you would hope, but
I would hope, but like when we gave him his the offer for like only paying half, he should have really taken. And my like I'd do that again, you know, and not have to go through it.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm not sure. It really comes down to the individual, how much they're willing to fight, how much they're willing to just write it off and carry on with their life. And I know some people in Matt's management thing have written off his what he's taken from them and just decided to carry on with music,
right? And
not get caught up in it, because life you can't just chase after everyone who kind of does you wrong.
No.
And the only reason we did was because no one else was doing it, and because we were the only ones in the position to be able to do it, and because it was just so much money, and we actually had the money to fight it as well. So those were our justifications for it. But every case is just totally different.
But I think you're right, and I think it's important that you did, because you're not just fighting for you're fighting for everyone else too.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think we're more inclined, especially in New Zealand culture, to take that attitude of, oh well, let's just let it go and move on, which probably is very healthy in many ways, at many times. But there are times not to take any shit from anyone.
Yeah, and there were loads of times where we were like, I wish we weren't doing this.
Yeah.
But it was just so much money we just couldn't let him get away with it.
That's right. Yeah.
Is there a point you get to a point where we've come so far, if we turn back now, we lose every chance of everything, we lose all that money?
Yeah, and so we actually literally got to that point where we were like, if we turn back, if we stop, we've just lost so much money for nothing.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, I guess it's like a small part of the reason why we carried on was just that, like how much we'd already spent already.
Yeah.
But yeah, so many things factored into it,
and it's got to put a lot of strain on your personal relationships. You've obviously got great support systems in place.
Yeah,
but stress like that, man.
Yeah, stress like that is just crazy. I think it was just really hard. I had gone to the States, done a tour in the States. In Canada, played a few shows there, done a couple of shows in the States, and then come home straight into a tour, what's that what's that thing that Tony Robbins does, like motivational speaking? Motivational speaking tour, like with NYLD for high school and primary school kids.
Oh, right.
Came back straight back from that, straight into that tour, and then my New Zealand tour, Avalanche City's New Zealand nationwide New Zealand tour, started in the middle of that. So the two things crossed over, and so we were absolutely slammed, and then we had the court case going on in the background.
Right.
And don't think I've ever felt more drained in my life. So it was just hugely, hugely taxing. Right. And I think at the end of it, me and Sharana, we just like crashed,
Yeah.
We were like,
all right,
we need a holiday.
So the NYLD thing, tell a little bit about that motivation. What's that about?
Oh man, what an awesome tour. So NYLD is is run by this place called The Parenting Place.
Right.
And they're a non-profit organization, but they just get people who have had struggles in their lives and like kind of overcome them or like done something cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they take this big kind of like setup, and they go around each town, and they set up in the town hall or like a arena or whatever, and all the high schools or primary schools send their kids to that thing. So you have a day of people getting up and being like I did this with my life, and this is how I kind of achieved it, and these were the things that I really struggled with, and this is how I overcame them, and this is what you can do to like kind of accomplish your dreams in your life. And it was, I think like 11 or 12 shows or something like that of that around the country, and just cool.
Oh,
and the kids get
Chris
so much out of
Lamb?
it. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Do you know Chris Lamb?
Yeah, I know Chris. Yeah.
Yeah. So he produced it.
Oh,
and
okay.
And yeah, we had Billy Graham this year, the boxing coach.
Oh, right.
And he was
awesome.
he was really good.
And Goff and Sarah were
Goff and Sarah, production. Yeah, we had Briley Mills, who is a one-armed dancer, and she was the only disabled person to be accepted into this prestigious dance school in Australia.
Far out.
And
awesome.
And she's just incredible. And I talked about how I taught myself how to sing and kind of started from there.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. But such a cool thing to be involved in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Really, really good.
Yeah.
And what about musically? What have you got in the plans?
At the moment, I wrote, just been writing with a bunch of people. Been writing with Benny.
I saw a thing with Benny on. Yeah. So, is that a single that he's releasing, or are you doing it together?
He's releasing.
Is it a duet?
Oh, no.
Right.
We stare deeply into each other's eyes and sing to each other.
A Christmas duet.
No, he's releasing something. We might do something together. We've been talking about it.
Because he's got the winery tour coming up, hasn't he? Shortly.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. I've just been mixing an album for a friend of mine at the moment, some friends of mine, and yeah, it's actually, so what I was thinking about before is now is actually like probably the most exciting time to be a musician.
Right.
It's actually like just so exciting. There's so many different ways that you can release your music now, and it's not just all about like, you know, getting the most downloads on iTunes. Like you can be a musician and only do stuff on on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or you can like amass thousands of followers on SoundCloud, and like it's actually really, really exciting.
5 million followers on a podcast.
Yeah.
but we've said that a few times before, haven't we? Like that now all bets are off and we can sort of reinvent our own careers.
That's right, yeah.
You know, the whole machine's come down.
It's actually amazing. Like there's people who do remixes on SoundCloud, and that's all they do, remixes on SoundCloud, and they have millions of followers, and people will just like desperately try and get them to release a remix of their song. And there's just countless ways. Like people can do covers on YouTube in
that's
interesting
a big
ways.
thing now,
and
yeah.
It's huge. Like I think now is just so exciting. You can pursue your career in any way that you can possibly think of, and I think it's really cool. And now like musicians who have traditionally released their music on CD and through like record labels and stuff like that are starting to rethink how they can do stuff, and it's actually just, it's really exciting.
Kind of liberating.
Really liberating, yeah.
And do you have plans this summer to take some time off and enjoy the new existence without the weight on the shoulders?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good summer.
Gonna sit on the beach somewhere and
drink
cocktails.
Yeah, totally. I think it's gonna be good. And I think before, while this was all happening, a lot of my songs that I'd been writing were like pretty dark, pretty about Matt and like that kind of thing. But now, I don't know, I just like feel this strange freedom, and I think just from having it out there, and I feel like as musicians, or as a musician, I tend to process things through my music.
Right.
Sure.
And I think now processing this outside of it, don't have as much a reason to write songs about it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before, I think someone asked me like a month ago, they were like, "Oh, do you think you'll have any songs about this whole process on your next album?" And I was like, honestly, sometimes I think that I'll never write another song ever again that's not about this situation.
That's a good point.
And that's where I was at like a month ago.
yeah.
But now I'm like, well, maybe it's time to move on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
it's a good way to put it. When you're stuck in that kind of way of thinking, that's all you think about.
Yeah, it's honestly all you can see.
Your whole fun. So, with this new gang of musos that you're getting together with Benny and supporting other artists, do you want people to contact you about issues, or
totally?
Where could they get hold of you?
I guess Facebook is pretty good on like Avalanche City's Facebook, or through management as well. Like they can get hold of my management and they'll pass it through to me.
Yeah.
But we've totally looked through like contracts for people and through deals for people.
Excellent.
And I'm actually probably not that good at it, but my wife Sharana is really good at it, so I pass them on to her.
Or you can start a consultation company.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But also, I think Facebook's a great way for people to get hold of your music too. Anything new you've got coming out? Or
I guess so. Yeah,
keeping track of what you're doing.
Yeah. Facebook's good, and Instagram, YouTube is good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I think, I keep thinking that I should join Snapchat, but then it's just like this other thing that I have to like.
Channel you have to.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
You need a manager to manage that for you.
You can so tell when a manager posts for an artist. It's like the driest thing.
Dad humor. Yes. Anyway, hey, thanks, man. This has been such a great conversation.
Cool.
And I reckon, when you've got something new coming out, we'd love to talk to you again, or if there's anything you want to talk about.
Yep.
If there's another issue that comes up or another court case, definitely come and see us. And
I hope not.
No, I don't wish that on anyone.
And good on you for standing up for yourself. I think you've done a great thing for our industry.
Thanks.
And I think it's going to. I think the importance of it's going to reveal itself as time goes on.
It's definitely shaking the whole thing up.
I think so,
and I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah. It's really courageous of you.
Thanks.
Work
it.